Alongside Brent Hubbs and Rob Lewis, I'm Austin Price for the Rocky Top Roundtable. Guys, Tennessee got to get that mojo going in the other direction, both offensively and as a team. This is a group that's lost 3 straight games, Brent, and Tennessee needs to find a little bit of momentum early in this game to help, to hopefully find momentum for the last 5 games.
Well, I think it starts with taking care of the football offensively. You look at this 3-game losing streak, it's been all about turnovers on offense. Not that they've played great elsewhere offensively, but they have shot themselves in the foot with turnovers. We all know what happened second half of Georgia, first half against Kentucky. They took care of the ball better against Alabama. They were just overwhelmed. But really the Kentucky and the Georgia games, turnovers were the story of the game. So it starts there for this team offensively. Have to be able to take care of the football.
Well, let's talk about Jarrett, Rob. This is a kid, when he's played solid this year and they've not turned it over, Tennessee's been more than adequate. When he's turned it over, Tennessee's been terrible.
It started off, I guess, for the first 10 quarters of the season, he looked like a guy that you could win in the SEC with. And then coming out of the locker room at Georgia, we all know what happened. Just completely unraveled. The first half against Kentucky, 2 pick sixes. And just, making the kind of mistakes through that stretch that you would not anticipate seeing from a 5th-year senior with as much playing time under his belt. And just like Brent said, it's not exotic, it's not rocket science. Take care of the football, and if I'm Jim Chaney this week, I'm leaning heavy on the ground game against an Arkansas defense that has been really susceptible to the run.
Brent, in this game that we're seeing right here, Jim Chaney was not patient enough. Kentucky was going to do much like what Arkansas would like to do, coming up Saturday night, which is kind of bend but don't break. Allow things to happen, but allow it to happen in front of you. And then when you get in over the shorter field, try to defend it and force field goals.
Yeah, and I think this is a challenge for Tennessee's offense because Arkansas is going to drop 8 and rush 3. A lot, not all the time, but a good bit of the time, which means you should be able to run the football effectively. You should be able to throw the check downs and the dump downs. But you also hear this coaching staff, and Jeremy Pruitt talked about it on Wednesday on the teleconference. You've got to have explosive plays. That doesn't mean you can throw a bunch of takeoff routes because they're going to have safety help over the top. So I think Tennessee's going to have to try to play it underneath to the point that Arkansas has to respond to that. They never forced Kentucky to adjust what they were doing defensively, and as a result, those turnovers cost Tennessee dearly. So how patient would Jim Chaney and Jerry Garantano be on Saturday night? When you want to get off to a good start, Rob, you want to make those explosive plays. You want the short fields. You want the quick scoring drives. But the team you're playing saying, you know what, we'll let you do a lot of things, but we're not going to let you do that.
Yeah, I think that is going to be the most fascinating aspect of this game. Will Jim Chaney be patient enough to kind of put the offense in situations where they're going 10, 12, 14 play drives, picking up 4 or 5 yards at a time and converting 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. And, that's a whole separate issue. Tennessee's 3rd down conversion, they're the worst in the league in the SEC, and it's not really close. And I think a lot of that is because they have been impatient. They haven't taken what's there, and they found themselves in a lot of 3rd and longs.
Which means Tennessee's running game and running backs could have a nice night, whether it's catching those dump downs out of the backfield in the passing game, or just taking a lot of handoffs, which, the running game very well could easily be there.
Well, it could be, but again, I think that's the play right there is a great example of it. That's blocked so well. Tennessee's got a chance to make a big play there, and they don't make somebody miss at the 2nd or 3rd level, Austin. And I think that's the next step. If you're looking for explosive plays against a team that's dropping a bunch of people in coverage, your running backs have to make some people miss in space when they have an opportunity. And they just haven't been able to do that. They have just a couple of 20-yard runs this season. Everything else has been pretty methodical in the run game. So can they line up, make somebody miss, and create explosives in the run game? I think the opportunities are going to be there. They've just got to execute better.
Defensively, Arkansas is not Alabama on offense. So Tennessee's defense has had 2 weeks to prepare. They did not tackle well against Alabama. They've obviously given up countless yards across the middle of the football field, and the secondary's not been great. What can we expect out of Derek Ansley's unit?
Well, I think you're aggressive against Felipe Franks, or go in, feeling that way. Arkansas is going to want to run the football. They're going to control the game that way. They're going to want to get Franks out on the edge, and they've been good at that at times. They put up some yards against Texas A&M, but if I'm Derek Ansley, I put some people in the box. I try to take that away, and I try to make Felipe Franks beat you with his arm.
Yeah, I think the scariest thing for Tennessee out of what they saw against Texas A&M Saturday night, and I know Jeremy Pruitt's talked a little bit about Felipe Franks scrambling around. some of those were design runs, Austin. And Sam Pittman saying earlier this week on the teleconference, they decided in the open date to try to balance out the numbers in the box a little bit better. They wanted an extra runner back there, so they put in 4 or 5 more wrinkles in the run game that involved Felipe Franks. Well, if that's the case, then Tennessee's going to have to play really some contain on the edge. And are going to have to be, mindful of Franks' legs, because I don't think he's afraid to run it. This is an Arkansas ground game that's got better every week, and Tennessee's got to tackle better, and they've got to stop that first, as Rob mentioned, to try to get it on Felipe Franks' shoulders and see if he can play a consistent game. There's some emerging weapons on this Arkansas team, but they're no juggernaut on offense. But they've got to make Franks uncomfortable. If they can do that, then I think Tennessee can do some good things defensively.
I don't think they're a juggernaut in any form of the game, but I do think that they have a bunch of solid football players that, if not respected and not schemed up against, could give Tennessee a hard time coming up Saturday. Obviously, Sam Pittman, Barry Odom, Kendall Briles, they have this group playing hard, Rob. Maybe not the most talented, but there's a want to with the Razorbacks.
Yeah, I mean, and you can see that. I mean, they're, even though they're 2-3, should be 3-2 had the refs not jobbed them at the end of the Auburn game there on a missed call. I think they're the surprise team in the SEC. You say that even though they have a losing record, but you're talking about a program that had lost 20 straight SEC games before Sam Pittman got there. They get 2 wins this year, and you can just, as you said, Austin, they're playing hard. You can see the buy-in is there. Pittman has turned out to be, he might have been their 7th or 8th choice. He's turned out to be a great hire.
I think Austin, the interesting thing in this game to watch for is I think Arkansas is going to be there for 60 minutes. I think this team will lay it on the line for 60 minutes. How does Tennessee handle adversity if something bad happens? We saw what happened when something bad happened in the second half of Georgia. They went south in a hurry. They didn't handle the second half of Kentucky very well after adversity in the first half. How does this team handle adversity if something doesn't go well early in this game? Do they bounce back from it? Do they continue to lay it on the line for 60 minutes, or do they not? I'm not saying this team's a bunch of quitters or they're going to quit. I do think it'll be interesting, though, to see how they handle themselves if something, if some things bad happen bad to them early in this game.
That's right. After a 3-game losing streak, it's easy to start pointing fingers if things don't go your way coming out of a bye week. For Rob Lewis and Brent Hubbs, I'm Austin Price for the Rocky Top Roundtable.